Praise Yah, praise Yah. No, that, it's very interesting the way the grammar is used, and we have to make sure that we pay attention to that, because sometimes we lose that in translation. And I'll preface that because this next group of verses, it's very important for us to understand that, because there's a lot of misinterpretation here. So let me read verse 11, and then I'll give you my assessment of what happens here. So it says, and he himself gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers, for the equipping of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Messiah. So just by a thumbs up, how many of you have heard this phrase, the restoration of the fivefold ministry? Thumbs up. Let me know how many people heard this. All right, restoration, fivefold ministry. All right. So this is apparently an apostolic view, that there is some restoration of an apostolic approach to the way ministry is supposed to be performed. And they say that the restoration of the fivefold ministry. All right. So it's a couple things wrong with that idea. One, we're going to disseminate as we go through, and then I'll come back to that. So the first thing we have to understand is that the grammar is very succinct when it comes to the Greek, and there are certain rules that sometimes are skipped over, but you can see if you pay attention to the way things are written. So the first thing is that he says, and he himself gave some. Some is the definite article. It could also say the, to be the apostles, right? So apostles, envoy, delegate, commissioned, one that was commissioned, one that is eyewitnessed, the foundation of the ecclesia, of the assembly, the foundations, the messengers. We see in Acts chapter 1, let's look at it right quick. Let's look at verse 21. Acts chapter 1, and it says, therefore, Acts chapter 1, verse 21, therefore, of these men who have accompanied us all the time that the Master Yahushua went in and out among us, beginning from the baptism of John to the day when he was taken up from us, one of these must become a witness with us of his resurrection. And they proposed two, Joseph called Barnabas, and who was surnamed Justus, and Matthias, and they prayed and said, you, O Master, who know the hearts of all, show which of these two you have chosen to take part in this ministry and apostleship, from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. And they cast their lots, and the lot fell on Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles. So we see clearly that there is a definite article with the apostles, meaning that these are the qualifications to be what Paul is referring to in chapter 4 of Ephesians. So I don't know of anyone in this day and time, and I know there's a lot of churches that have apostle so-and-so that fits the qualification, right? That's right here. Paul says this in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Y'all with me so far? You see where I'm going? thumbs up if you're starting to understand just a little bit. All right, trying to dissipate this understanding of a fivefold ministry. So, chapter 9, verse 1, it says, "Am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have I not seen Yahushua Messiah, our master? Are you not my work in Messiah, in the master? If I am not an apostle to others, yet doubtless am I to you, for you are the seal of my apostleship in the master." Right? 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians 12. Second Corinthians 12, and I'll look at a couple verses here. Verse 11 and 12 says this: "I have become a fool in boasting. You have compelled," or it says, "I have become a fool in boasting. You have compelled me. For I ought to have been commended by you. For in nothing was I behind the most eminent apostles, though I am nothing. Truly the signs of an apostle were accomplished among you with all perseverance in signs and wonders and mighty deeds." So we see between the three passages I just read that there's a qualification that comes with being an apostle. So if there's a restoration of a fivefold ministry, one of those has been eliminated, I would say. How many of you agree? Because according to what I just read, there are no apostles according to what Paul is saying in Ephesians as foundational to the ministry at this point. Hebrews chapter 2, verses 3 and 4 say this: "How shall we escape if we neglect so great a salvation, which was at first began to be spoken by the Master, and was confirmed to us by those who heard him? Elohim also bearing witness both with the signs and wonders, with various miracles and the gifts of the Ruach according to his will." So we see the qualifications of those that were present, those that would be the foundation. So for a fivefold ministry, this eliminates this restoration of one of those gifts, because that is not an accurate statement for what he is calling us to do today. The other point is each gift that is mentioned here in Ephesians is separated by a definite article. And just to go further in the grammar and understanding, there is also a conjunction that separates what would be known as the fifth gift. So it appears to be five gifts here, right? It says some prophets, or it says some apostles. We eliminated that one. Some prophets, right? Prophets are those who proclaim Yah's truth, those who expound on Yah's truth. And we do have, Agabus, who predicted a famine that came forth. Agabus also told Paul that he would go to Rome bound, right? But we have now the prophets, those with the prophetical gift, will expound on what was already written, will point out Yah's truths. Part of a speaking gift is to be prophetical. So we have an understanding of that. It says then evangelists, which are bringers of the good news, traveling and at home. There are different aspects of that gift, but those who seek to share the gospel in a way for people that don't know it, right? And then we have some pastors and teachers. So there is a grammar law called the Granville law in the Greek. And what it states is that when two singular nouns of a personal description, non-proper names, are joined together by a conjunction like and, only the first noun has the definite article, the. They refer to the same person. So, pastor teacher is one gift. It literally says, and one pastor who also teaches, if we read it in the gift. So that would eliminate it down to 3 gifts. So there is no fivefold here. So I just wanted to make that clear because the grammar is being read incorrectly, which causes for there to be a whole nother doctrine about what the ecclesia is supposed to look like, what the assembly is supposed to look like, or a restoration thereof. So I wanted to make sure that we saw that clearly right here where it's written and not misunderstand that even if you add apostle in, there's still only 4 gifts. So there's no fivefold understanding of this particular passage. June and then Jadia.
I was going to request, you don't have to do it now, if you could read it in the
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll read it. Yep. Jadia.
Praise God. Also, to emphasize, the gifts that is being given is not positions. Right. I think a lot of times these characteristics in verse 11 is applied like a position called apostleship, apostle, or a position called prophet, a position called evangelist and things. These are gifts of characteristics that people do. You see, pastor, shepherd, shepherding, and instructors. You can't separate those two. Like that's what a shepherd does, instructs their sheep. Apostle, a delegator, a person who is delegating structure, how things should be, how things should go on amongst the assembly. And then you definitely expressed prophets, expounding, professing, and even at times, inspired, and being inspired to reveal something more, considering the situation, not just just randomly, having visions and things like that. These were all characteristics that is manifested in the body, not necessarily these are positions of ministry, which is like what you're saying with the fivefold ministry was saying that these positions had to exist in order for a ministry to function, but the positions don't have to exist. The characteristics has to be alive in his people in order for them to be functional. And verse 12, basically edifying, perfecting of the whole entire collective. So just bringing that out, these are characteristics, not jobs, you know what I mean? So praise Yah.
Praise Yah, and just to clear it, I just wanted to read it from the Greek grammar. It says, and he gave some on the one hand as apostles, definite article, and on the other hand as prophets, definite article, and still again some as bringers of good news, that will be the evangelists, and finally some as pastors who are also teachers, for the equipping of the saints, for the ministering work, with a view to build up the body of Messiah. So we have the purpose, we have the characteristics that follow these characters, and we have a clear understanding that there are only 4 gifts listed in this passage, not 5. So just wanted to make sure we cleared that up because we hear that a lot, but wanted to show you scripturally and read it properly the way the grammar is supposed to read, as sometimes we lose understanding in translation, but we have, clarification in understanding as we look through the original language that it is written in. Praise Yah.